Your good heart, your good soul, you know what you want, you know who you are. Keep being you and don't let anything hurt you. Just keep on picking yourself up and move forward. And that's the advice I want to give you because you're a good person, you're a good soul, and I look forward to seeing your matches in the future. So I'm excited.
Rewind, recap, relive for over 50 episodes.
The revolutionary force in wrestling industry.
Our first guest has about 5 years in the business now and has already had the opportunity to travel internationally. Most recently made an appearance on AEW Dark against actually former guest Sky Blue. Please welcome the Dream Girl, Ellie.
Hello, it's me.
Hello. Hello from Disney. Also, very cool fact there. And our next guest, absolute legend, Hall of Fame career, no doubt, has held gold in numerous companies, including WWE, where she's a former 3-time women's champion, 2-time Divas champion. Please welcome the true pioneer, Melina, to the show.
Love you guys.
Thank you. Thank you both so much for coming. And I always like to start at the beginning, hear how you got into wrestling. What was it like? Ellie, I'll go to you first because I actually heard you weren't a fan growing up, and I'd love to hear what switched your perspective on that.
Don't expose me. No.
There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes that's just the path we take. You know what I mean? It's a different perspective and different insight.
So this is it's not traumatic, but it is a traumatic. I had a traumatic childhood, but it's like this at times. So growing up, we never watched wrestling up until I was like 10 or 11. My parents got divorced, and it was like really, really bad. And it was like to the point where they were like restraining orders against each other and stuff. So I had to go to my dad's at like certain times. And one of those times were like Mondays at like 8 o'clock or whatever. So it was like a Monday Night Raw type of time. And I have 3 brothers. Well, now I have 6, but growing up I had 3 brothers. And they all loved wrestling. Like, I guess like they got into it when they would go to their dads and stuff. And I had gotten out of going to my dad's for a couple weeks, whether I was like sick or like what it was exactly, but I just wouldn't go. And I ended up having to go one of these weeks because I was like the angry teenage, my parents getting divorced, the world's ending type of person. So I purposely went there with the intention of just being a jerk. Like, I was like, you know what? I'm angry. I'm going to take it out on everybody and anything. And we were watching wrestling. And it was actually Randy Orton's return after he like tore his pec or something. It was like a big return or something. And like everybody was like all happy and stuff for it. And I was like, this is stupid. I'm like, wrestling is stupid. This is the stupidest thing in the world. Like just crapping on it, just to be a jerk. And in my head, I'm like, oh, this is actually kind of cool, but I'm not going to tell them it's cool because then they'd be right. And I ended up like having to go back like week after week because that was what the order was and stuff. And after a couple weeks, I kind of gotten into it. And I was like, all right, maybe I shouldn't be a jerk because stuff happened. And I got into it when I probably got like into it like in deep when I was like 13. And I would like go to the NXTs because like living in Florida, NXTs all the way like they travel and stuff in Florida, so I got to go to those. I went to like Raws and SmackDowns and stuff, and I was like, I'm gonna be a wrestler. So for 5 years, I was like, I'm gonna be a wrestler. But growing up, I always had like crazy career ideas. I was like, I'm gonna be an FBI agent. I was gonna be in the SWAT. I was gonna be like these crazy things that like I probably was never gonna actually do. And I told my dad, I was like, hey dad, I'm gonna be a wrestler. And it was like, yeah, sure you are, buddy. Like, good for you. And he kept saying, he's just like, you're gonna quit. He's like, I'm fully expecting you to go like a week or 2 and then quit. So I turned 18, signed up on my 18th birthday, and then started training like a week later or something. And I lived with my dad at the time, and it was like a 45-minute drive to training and stuff. And the whole time, like I went to training, I was all excited, and then the first training happens. And I know Melina can tell you that after that first training, you reevaluate your entire life at that exact moment. Because I puked the first time like multiple times. I cried. I was bleeding. Like it was rough. And like I hadn't even gotten in the ring yet. That was just cardio. Like it was rough. So as I'm driving home, I'm like, I'm quitting. I was like, I'm not doing this ever again. I was like, this is the stupidest idea I ever thought I could do. Because like, especially in high school, because I was training in high school, but like in high school, I was also like heavier. I was like 170, 180, 190, like somewhere around there. So like I was like totally out of shape and like not anywhere near being actually athletic at all. And I got home that day and my dad had stayed up and he was just like, oh, how was it? And I was like, oh, it was good. And he's like, you gonna quit? And I had already made my mind up for 45 minutes that I was quitting. And then he asked me that and I was like, no, I'm not quitting. I was like, I'm not gonna do it. And I am now technically a professional wrestler out of spite for my dad because I didn't want him to be right and for me to quit. So now I made it this far in my life out of.
That's awesome. Awesome though that you turned something like not as, pleasant into wrestling. Like that's so cool to hear. Melina, I'd love to throw it to you now and hear your story if you resonate and your thoughts on that, everything.
I just want to tell her, it's like, thank goodness, like everything she did out of spite was in a positive way. You know what I mean? It ended up benefiting her, where some people would just like rebel or do something and it doesn't really help life and it's in a negative way. I mean, hearing that story and then like everything, like the way she looks at everything now, she's in shape. Like, oh my goodness, like you should be so proud of yourself, so very proud of yourself. Do you think differently now that, I mean, when it comes to your family, life, everything are things different now and you're happy with, obviously you're happy with your choices, right?
We my dad went through like a rough patch, obviously, like mentally and stuff, and that's why the divorce happened. So then he like went to therapy and he like got his like life figured out, and I was like remarried, happy. I talked to him like 2-3 times like a day type of thing. Like we talk all the time. So I'm glad like that was able to work out. And I think wrestling helped that too, was like he was able to use that as like the rekindling like our relationship of being like, hey, what are you doing this weekend? Like, how's that going? Like, what are you doing? Type thing. So it's kind of cool that kind of helped fix things again.
It's good because I'm sorry to change the subject or to keep going on, but
No.
It's beautiful for the fact that, we don't realize when we're younger that our parents, like I look back and I think, oh my God, how did my parents raise us? Like their kids, like we assume parents know it all, have it all together. They should make the right calls. They should know everything, but they're just people who they don't have the right answers all the time. They're trying to sort life out within themselves, the relationship, and the kids. Like they have a lot on their plate, and kids don't really realize all the things, all the pressures that our parents are going through. And he's only human. He's only trying his best,
Yeah.
and I hope that changes everything because the communication, you guys are good.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes me happy for you. Good old wrestling. It brings people together. It really does.
It does. Yeah.
My story was not as traumatic. But you know what? I feel like this is a thing. Like maybe this is the way life works for trauma that people have gone through in their, like some people go through trauma when they're young and then others go through trauma when they're adults. And for me, it's kind of like, I always think the stuff that I've gone through, I couldn't imagine kids going through it. Like if I can't fully comprehend all these things, the reasonings why do people do this shit? Like all that hurt, that pain, the questioning. If I can't as an adult understand and accept this, I couldn't imagine what kids are going through when they're getting, and these like things get leaked and all this crap goes down. Sexual abuse, all this stuff, like manipulation, like even like I can't, kids, like it breaks my heart. So like I'm glad in a sense that I didn't get to experience it as a child, but at the same time, it's like I, as an adult, thankful in a sense for the fact that now I could understand when I hear other people talk about it. And it's like, God, I just want to hug everybody. Like I don't want anybody to suffer, but we're all suffering together in a sense. So hopefully that's comforting. But for me as a child, My brother was my brother. I didn't have daddy issues. I had brother issues. I wanted my brother's approval, and he hated me. Well, he's probably gonna get mad at me for saying that, but in a way, he did. He was the only child. He got all the toys, and then when I came along, it kind of like took the attention of being a little girl and stuff. So when we watched wrestling together, that was the only time we got along, and it was awesome because during the 80s, that was a time where psychology was different, wrestling was different, storytelling was like the characters, you know what I mean? They were larger in
Yeah.
life. And for me, I still love that era. I mean, again, I'm biased. I love that era because the promos, the characters, like freaking Rowdy Piper, you know what I mean? Like these people were just, I believed every word. Like I believed that they would go to a bar and they would kick somebody's ass. They would roadhouse somebody, you know? I believe it all. I swear. Like to me, even if I know it's fake, you know what I mean? I know it's scripted.
Right.
I still, and even in the 90s, there was a beautiful, like, there's those heroes, those characters that were like in the 80s, but then you got your high flyers too. So it was kind of like a good mix. And so I don't know, I love those stories back then. Like it was like a regular TV show where you could tell somebody, hey, this character from 3 years ago, they had beef because of this. And it made sense. It wasn't this questioning of, well, why are they best friends now when they were just beating each other up 2 weeks ago? Like, why are they tag teaming? Like, there's no questioning. You knew the story. So I feel lucky to be able to watch that. And I watched it with my brother, and
Yeah.
identify with tag teams for the fact that even though, you know, when wrestling wasn't on, we didn't get along. But in my mind, I imagine myself like, that's me and my brother right there in that tag team. Like, that's what we would do. It's us against the world. And, child brain just imagining that. And then, like, I think maybe for about 4 years, stopped watching wrestling. So I want to say, like, I don't know, somewhere in the teens, like 10 to something. Like then it's the 90s came in, and then that's like watching the Attitude Era, or no, wait, what was that era? I think I was Attitude Era. What was the time before me?
Is that New Generation possibly? Is that when all that came in?
That was back when it was in like oh my goodness, WCW versus Raw, Monday Night Raw.
Oh,
Was that have a
that's
name?
Attitude Era, and then it's Ruthless Aggression, right? Isn't that the
That
way it goes? Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, which one am
The
I? I don't even
fan.
remember. And worked. But I never, like, say everybody's path. Like, I have hung out with my friends, like these girly friends who cannot comprehend why I ever chose wrestling. Like, it's funny, all the groups of friends you have from like when you're younger, during wrestling and outside wrestling. Like, I'm glad I have a really rounded, like, different type of people, group of friends. But like, say the girly girls could never comprehend why I even liked wrestling. And then when I'd watch wrestling with them, they were the type where, this is stupid. Like, what? Well, why did they do this? And you know what? I could totally understand where they were coming from. I'm like, yeah, that was stupid. But can you suspend your belief for that one moment and pretend?
Pretend this guy is actually an Undertaker, okay? Pretend this guy is actually hell, okay? Like, please.
But everybody else is happy. Shh.
Don't ruin this.
So I see, like, I look through their eyes and I could see it. Like, I could totally understand. But you could also see the people who, like, they had that perspective. And once that light bulb clicks, once that energy, it's the ambiance. It's being able to let out aggression or whatever you're going through in your day from work and blah, 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 blah. And you let it out all out with the cheering and the booing and watching the entire production. Like, it changes who you are. And now you see people coming together, and they come and hang out with each other. So like for Wrestlemania, people travel around the world, and sometimes it's reunions every year just to see like their family, a wrestling family.
Yeah.
And the it brings people together in such ways where, you know, I kind of for a second would think, is it stupid? Is it not? I love it. This is beautiful. It's my happiness and I could see this. But you see it all in its entirety. It's freaking beautiful. It really is. I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent there.
No, but it was such an awesome tangent though. I mean, I couldn't agree more. Like I'm going this year to WrestleMania with fans that I haven't seen in so long, like fellow fans, and I met them through wrestling, you know. So I totally agree. Like it brings so many people together from all over the place. And I love that you both also like took wrestling from from a bad place. You know, that was like your positivity. Ellie, for you, you talked about training and going with your dad to training, and the first experience wasn't that great. Who did you go to? What was the school that you went to actually train with?
So, I didn't have the best trainer in the world, so I had to get retrained. So we're not gonna talk about the first like year.
Fair.
Because I don't
Redacted. Yeah.
like shit on him or anything, because it's not. It was just circumstantial, I guess. I don't really know the reasoning.
No, but no, let people know that it's really important to learn your basics and everything, your fundamentals, learn it from a really good school, because you can't, it's really hard to unlearn those habits. So
Yeah.
I commend you for going somewhere knowing that you need to learn in a different way
Yeah.
and doing it. Like I commend you for that, because that's tough too, to relearn habits.
That was like the thing. Like when I first like trained, I always had like as a I don't know if it's just because like I'm a female or what it was, because like, but I always had like just bad vibes, you know what I mean? Like there was always just something weird, and like I was like there was like one other girl there, but like it was just a very toxic place that I trained. And it was just something was off, and I was like, this is weird. But I was like, you know what, maybe I just don't understand wrestling, the business, like maybe I don't get it. And then I went to a show and I met Blanco, which is now my tag partner, Blanco Loco. And he was like, hey, let's get in the ring and practice. And I was like, okay, cool. And he kind of was just like, what the hell are you doing? And I was like, I don't know. Like,
This is what they taught me.
I paid money for it. And he's like, okay, let's not do that ever again. So he actually like completely retrained me. And then with his help, I went to Afa The Wild Samoan. Oh gosh, I have to do this in order because I'll get lost. Afa The Wild Samoan. Then I went to Matt Seidel, and then we started traveling. See this problem? I was like, oh shoot, was it Afa, Matt?
I love Afa, by the way.
Then we went to Ricky Morton and
Nice.
Al. So I get a little bit of everything, which is really nice, because like at Al's, like Doug Basham is there, you know what I mean? Like Al has like everyone has a different perspective of wrestling, and that's one of my favorite things, because like there's not just like one avenue to go down. There's like so many different little side streets and stuff. And like the big thing with Al too that I'm learning is TV time is like crazy important. Like sticking to your times. Because like when I first started wrestling, he's like, hey, you have 6 minutes. I'm like, all right, cool. And I'd go 4.5, and he's like, cool, now I gotta find another 1.5 minutes for somewhere else to go. And I was like, oh, my bad, like I didn't realize it was like that. And now like I just wrestled there Thursday and Saturday, because Saturday was the pay-per-view, and my match was literally went down to the second of exactly where it needed to be. And like I was the only one that like kept it literally within a second of where it needed to be. And like he was just like, hey, like thanks bro, like you made my job so much easier. And that was like that's a big thing for me. And like storytelling is a big thing for him. He's like, why he's like, why are you guys wrestling each other? And he's like, what's the point? He's like, are you trying to win? Are you just trying to beat the crap out of people? Like, are you just trying to get moves in? And then he's like, if you hit all these moves and then you pin, and like she's able to kick out, then like you look weak. So they're like, there's way to do these things. Or like if you hit all these moves and you don't pin, why are you doing it? And he's like, you're trying to win a fight. And I was like, oh, that actually makes sense. So it's really cool, like everyone's different little perspective of how wrestling is and stuff.
Oh, that makes me happy for you. I love it. I'll meet a lot of newer people who or not newer people, but like like the newer generations that kind of see that. But it's because of Al, it's because of Afa, it's because of Matt. Like you learn from a wide variety of perspectives, and the psychology to it, and their experiences, and everything. It all plays a part. And the beauty of what you said was the different avenues that you see that wrestling could take. What I love is, even though people were so definitive about when they taught me, they said they'd like, this is the way it's supposed to be, blah, 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 blah. And then I just like listen to them, take it all with a grain of salt. And I'd listen because they're saying it for a reason. Like I took it all in, they're saying it for a reason. Then I go to somebody else and then they teach me something. Everything is perspective, but you have to listen to everybody and realize there's a reason for it. Some people look at me like I'm crazy, and that's why I don't ever give advice. Like when people ask me just to see if somebody else, they're like, they want me to tell them, like, watch their match and then say, oh, can you give me advice? They just do it. Most of the time, people are doing it because they're like, there's somebody else. They're doing it because they were taught that they were supposed to ask, but they
Yeah, and
don't
then they
know.
yeah.
And they just do that. Yeah, 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 yeah. And it's like, no, you're not even listening. Like, no, if you could hone this, if you do this, ask somebody else. Like, I point you in the right directions and I tell you, but you really don't care. So you can't really say. So I don't ever give advice. But, or I mean, unless somebody really wants to know, you can't teach a person who doesn't want to be taught.
Yeah.
So what you did, like, I'm excited to see your stuff. Like, because your mind seems to be there, and that's exciting to me. I'm excited about that, and that makes me happy. You got really great people who are around you and encouraging you and teaching you. Like the times, nobody gives a crap about times. It pisses me the fuck off. It really does. And I'm just like, every time, like, usually the women are the ones that suffer because the guys go overboard and it usually cut out of our times. And I'm just like, damn, like, really, you had to get all your shit in and you went like fucking 20 minutes over, and then I have to do like 4 minutes? Like, that's bullshit. And then so it just like stuff like that matters so much. But then it's like, especially a TV show, I don't know, AEW is like 2 hours, right? So it's different. Like at
Yeah.
least you kind of can fill in the gaps. But then when you have something that's an hour long, like a NWA, you
Yeah.
really, those that time slot's important. So even a minute.
Time or something. Yeah.
But to me, it's a beautiful thing to be able to manipulate time in your mind. You know what I mean? To cut things out on the fly or whatever needs to be done, and figure out the timings of each thing, reactions, posing. Like to me, cutting things out and then to make it fit and then hit the cue.
Yeah.
It's like you're making music or something. I don't know, the best fucking single ever.
That
Like,
was
so good.
the whole new adrenaline rush, honestly. Like I did the match and he was like, hey, you have 10 minutes. And I was like, I'm not gonna be able to go 10 minutes. Like this is crazy. We didn't have that much like figured out or whatever. And he gave us a time cue and he was like, hey, 2 minutes, and he was like, grab a hold or something, like, because he still wanted us to do heat. And I was like, no. And then I went to what I needed to do because I was like, I know where I am in the match and stuff. And I was like, I'm gonna figure this out. And when like the whole match was over, like you're already tired, but like you still have a little bit of adrenaline going. But like once we got, I'm talking over here.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no.
Tell them
Sorry.
what's up. Yeah.
How rude.
No, sorry. No. But like once they were like, hey, you were literally off by a second, I was like, bro, I'm a superstar. I was like, I did that. Like nobody else did that. I did that type of thing. And it was like so great. But then like I still went around and I was just like, hey guys, like how was it? And they're like, bro, like Angry Ellie is a whole different type of person. And she's psychotic. It's great. And everyone loves like heel Ellie more than they like baby Ellie. And I don't know what it is, but like I'm just a little like, I'm a little badass when I'm a bad guy. But like when I'm like I don't want to say I'm good as both because that sounds like I'm like trying to put myself over. But like I am like 1,000 times more comfortable as like the bad guy. Cause like I'm just like, yo, this is my ring. Like I think I actually over the weekend, I told someone that and I was like, yo, this is my ring, bitch. Like just like as the bad guy, just I think I got backstage. I was like, I don't actually think that. I'm sorry. Like, please don't yell. I'll cry. But I was like, I'm sorry. But like when I'm in there, like I have like a whole different type of confidence. And I don't know if that's like a normal thing or not, but like there's just something about like being like bad, which is just such a whole different like ball game. And I'm just like, yeah, I want to be badass Ellie everywhere. You know what I mean? So it's just, I don't know. That had nothing to do with the story, but you know what I mean?
No, but I do think like you saying like you own the ring. So for me in my perception, like the way I see things is I like being a baby because okay, psychology wise, even though everything bleeds together and heels are babies, babies are heels, and all this like everything, it all bleeds together. For me as a true heel, you have to be self-deprecating. You have to like sacrifice, like you can't want people to like you. You can't have
Yeah.
that like, man, I want to do something badass because I want to look better than babyface. No, you gotta slip on banana peels. You gotta like just your job is to make somebody else shine. And I like the good thing about being a babyface is that you get your shit in.
Yeah.
What I love about being a heel, the heel tells a story. The heel has control. I do the timing. I'm the one controls the timing. I'm the one slows things down. I'm the one speeds things up. It's like I know I could depend on me. So I that's why I love controlling the ring. That's the way it feels like. Because without you, the baby face is nothing. Without you, like you can't dictate time and all these things. And when I learned how to do it, I couldn't give it up. Like it's like being a baby face, it's like, oh man, this feels too fast. No, slow down. And I can't really talk because I have to run. And like the control there, I'm like, fuck. All right, just beat a hold.
That was like this weekend. I was a heel and my job was to get this person over as a super baby face. And I like beat the shit out of her to an extent where I had her in the corner and I just had like my forearm on her like throat and they were all chanting her name and I stopped and I looked around and then they were like, yo, this is perfect. And I was like, ah, freaking no. And then I just like chopped the shit out of her. But like to start the match, she did a drop down and it worked and I fell and everyone laughed at me and I was like, fuck yeah, like this is perfect, like this is what I want. Like it's kind of like you got to slip on a banana peel. I basically did. And I was just like, I don't think I did anything cool in that match except for a clothesline. Like, like it was just a basic clothesline.
But all you need
no,
to do is be that presence, and then that controls everything.
and
But you know,
I have this like scream thing that I do. I do it as a babyface too, but like as a heel, like my facials, my attitude, like everything is just like 1,012%, and it's just crazy. And everyone's like, "Why are you not this everywhere?" And I'm like, "I don't know." But like when your tag partner comes out with a stuffed Pikachu and he wears a mask,
I
it's kind of.
remember that.
But like, granted, I also come out dressed as a princess, so like I literally have like Disney princess gear. Um, but I also do it like since I do the dream girl thing, but like I do like a Jekyll and Hyde thing where it's like dream girl nightmare type of thing. Where like I can be cute and cuddly up until I don't need to be cute and cuddly, and then I can be this little badass, and I can do that as a baby face. But like especially, dude, like as a heel, I don't know, bro. I just there's just something about it.
the power.
It literally like that's what it feels like. It literally feels like, and like kind of like what you're saying, like you're like everyone knows, not everyone because it's wrestling, but like like people in wrestling understand like the heels are supposed to kind of control things, and like I think that is what makes me feel more comfortable too, of being like, okay, well, you know what, like I don't have to worry about all of these things because I can control those things. Like I don't have to worry about like, oh my god, what if she misses this? What if the times aren't right? What if this? And because like it's up to me. And like in the beginning, that was used to be like so much pressure where I would just shit the bed like 110%. And like I feel like it's kind of like how everyone's got to do, but like I would just shit the bed like, and it was rough. And there's just something that like clicks now where I'm just like, you know what, like I'm comfortable in the ring where I can control things, and it just, I don't know, it just works. It's just great. I don't know.
Well, hopefully, like if they put you if they were like you become a baby face, you can like master the skill. Because I've seen people like say like Mickie, like they can be able to work from these awkward positions where I'm like, yeah, no, I can't, I don't have that skill. I've always been such a like they always put me as a heel that it's awkward for me to be a baby face, even though like
Mhm.
I I want to hug people. I really do. But when it comes to inside the ring, I most of my time in wrestling has always been heel. So
Mhm.
that's like kind of like where if I'm gonna be a baby face, I want to be. I guess I have to be a heel baby face, heel-ish. But I'd rather be heel. I mean, I wish I could master the skills and take the time, but I feel like I've already learned my pattern, and it's already
Yeah,
hard for me to learn at this stage to learn like to work in that baby face mode of controlling this scenario. Even though I just turn heel as a baby face when I need to, but that's
that's
Right.
I know. And it's not to me that's not correct
yeah.
wrestling for me, but nobody even cares nowadays, but
Well,
to me
like
wish I could learn the right way.
it was supposed to be baby this weekend, and they're like, hey, you need to get her over as like the biggest baby
Oh,
face we have.
hard. Yeah,
And
I'm just like, he has to turn heel.
I like I told them, I was like, hey, I was like, I'm gonna be the aggressive baby face to the point where they are probably gonna boo me, but I won't cheat. I was like, I'm not gonna be a full heel, but like, bro, it's gonna be a little questionable. And that's basically what happened backstage. Everyone was like, hey, are you a heel now? And I was like, I didn't cheat, no, but like, I had to be that aggressive to get the sympathy for this girl, and it
Good.
worked. And now I'm trying to heel everywhere I go, and they won't let me. So you know.
Jumping in, just speaking of being a heel, Melina, you said most of your time in wrestling was a heel. I'd love to go to the one of the times we saw that as MNM, of course. Mainly your first time on main roster, I think, as like a real heel, right? Can you talk about some of your roles that you did to get that team over, and how the team even formed such a memorable team in wrestling history?
You know, I look back at my life and I think, you know, when people say the right place at the right time, when people say like things happen for a reason, like I, I just think of the like the course of everything that has happened that's led me to and through wrestling. I really believe like everything happens like it's like I forced my way through shit. Like the entrance, how I got into wrestling, all these things where it's like the grace of whatever's out there. Honestly, like who would have known that they first off, no one believed I could ever be healed. They're like, she's too nice, she's too quiet, she's too sweet. Like, there's no way. Like everybody would dismiss me all the time about being a heel. And I didn't, I mean, it took me a while, but like to watch people, and then I'm like, no, I can do it. Like I'm telling you guys, I could do it. And then once I did it, no one could ever see me as a baby face ever again. And it was just, I was so proud to prove to them that I could do something that they told me I couldn't. And it's like I was dating John at the time, so they had us together. And I think it's because John was still like, for a guy, because he came from Tough Enough, he was still green when it came to psychology. So
Mhm.
they looked at Joey Matthews and they're like, you know what? Because he's a genius. He's a freaking genius. You have to, uh, hopefully people could learn from him whenever they spoke to him. If it wasn't, you know, people weren't afraid to talk to him, but he's a brilliant mind. Like the things that come out of his brain, we each played a part. It was a beautiful pairing because John was like the young daredevil. Really, he was fearless. Me, I the personality. Joey, he was the brains and he was the glue. He's the one who knew how to direct. He taught me, he taught all of us. Like we were a perfect balance of like giving a piece of ourselves and making a group, even though we could individually stand alone. But as a group, we were just, you know, we fit as a family. And that was in OVW when they put us all together.
That's
That's where,
so
and like, it
sorry.
was, W is like I think is it a different spot now? Like I'm wondering if it's a different spot now, if it's the same arena.
It's
I gotta
still
ask about
David.
huh? The
David.
David? Yeah.
Everything is probably exactly how you left it too.
I love it. So yeah, the entrance was born there. Our like the red
Wow.
carpet, everything, and we just came up with it all because basically when people looked at me, because in my eyes I was a tomboy, everyone saw me as like a girly girl. Where I was like, really, what? And it's everyone saw me as like this LA model, and I was like, modeling. Well, I just like did one commercial thing, and that's it. That's the extent of my modeling. But everybody perceived me in a certain way, and we're taught that perception is reality. And so our thought process was, okay, well, if this is the way they look at you, and then John's from LA too, so let's give them LA. So that's why we created MNM. We're like, we're gonna give them LA because that's what they see when they look at us. And I'm like,
Right.
Yeah.
okay.
Change their minds if they're already thinking that.
Yeah, except we just make it really extra. That's it.
Yeah. Everything.
In my life, like I always wore pants. I always wore pants all the time. I never wore dresses or skirts. And that character helped me become more girly. Like it really made me, I don't know. I always thought like I was such a tomboy. This is why I didn't wear dresses. This is why I didn't do this. This is why I didn't wear makeup. And then I realized, well, maybe it wasn't that, I just didn't want to. Maybe I was afraid to. I don't know, but I embraced it. And I felt like I learned about another part of myself. I love doing hair. I love makeup. I love dressing up. I love, like, there's so many things I learned about myself, and I embraced the role.
Wow. That's really cool that gave you that much out of that role too, and especially so early in your career to learn so much about yourself.
And learn how to be a manager. Managing is an art. Like I looked down on it because I thought it was just being a valet, but it's an art form, and you have to be aware of everything. Like you have to know each sides of whatever everybody's doing, and being there for them, and being able to respect their match while contributing to it.
No, absolutely. And Ellie, to go to you, I mentioned earlier, like you had the unique opportunity of already traveling, right, internationally, part of the international superstars. Can you explain what the international superstars is, and then also where you've been, some favorite places, what that experience is like so early in your career now?
Okay, so without, I know it's an interview and I'm supposed to go into details without going into too much details. We used to have a tag partner, who's from England, and so basically, Blanco, this other person, and I all would do these shows together, and Blanco and another person were already a tag team, and I literally had like, this is like my second match I was about to have that night, and somehow our gear was the exact same color, like the same exact like fabric. So I went up to Blanco being, I don't know, stupid. And I was like, hey, my gear matches, I should be in your guys' group because I don't think things through before I say them. And he's like, no, and then just walked away.
Wow.
So I was like, this is why I never talk in locker rooms, because I am socially awkward already, and that just like reiterated why I don't do things. And like I went out and wrestled or whatever, and like after the show, this other person in our group came up to me, and he was like, hey, we're gonna go to Alabama this weekend. If you would like to get in the car, like be at Blanco's house at like 9 o'clock in the morning or whatever. And I was like, all right, cool, I got you. Got in the car, and then Blanco's probably tried kicking me out 1,000 times. It hasn't worked yet. No. So we went to England. Oh my gosh, this is why I can't. In 2019, we went to England for the first time in 2019. So I'm literally like a year into wrestling. And we were only there for like 3 or 4 days. Like we weren't there very long. Because we were supposed to do this big, what was that name called? OWE, I think. It was supposed to be a big tag. Yeah, it was supposed to be a big tag team tournament. Turns out the guy was like stealing money. Like the guy who was sponsoring it and stuff, like stole the money and stuff. It was a big thing. But we had already like taken. I can speak, I swear. We had already taken like 2 or 3 other bookings. So we're like, all right, you know what? We have flights, we have everything figured out already. We're like, let's just go for a couple days. So we went, and it was cool, but we were only there for, I think by the time we actually landed at like Friday morning, we left like Sunday night type of thing. Like it wasn't a very active trip. So we had done that and it was cool, but again, I was like, all right, let's go back. Then COVID hit, so we didn't get to travel a whole lot. And then we were in like the Londonish area, I guess. We were actually in like the Telford. Don't ask me where that is compared to I don't know.
Me neither.
But I think it's like 3 or 4 hours. Like it was far away enough where like we couldn't really travel a whole lot. But then we went to Canada. But we've gone to Canada twice and we've gone to England twice. We went to England for 2 weeks. And we got to wrestle like basically every night that we were there, except for like 2 nights. But like we literally landed and like went straight to a show. Like as soon as we landed in England. And Blanco was so much better at like the locations and like all those things, but like I can't tell you anywhere we actually wrestled. I know we stayed in London for a couple of days. I was supposed to go to Australia right before COVID hit. And then the company shut down due to COVID and stuff, which I understand. Like I'm not like mad. And then we're trying to plan a Japan trip for this year because Blanco wants to go on like vacation to Japan, and I'm sure he mentioned it like 100 times to you already.
He did, yeah. Former guest, right? Yeah.
Yeah. This every other word is like, oh, so Japan. I'm like, I'm all for it.
It was funny because I had him on with Doc Gallows too, so it was like a perfect, like a lot of Japan talk on that one.
Oh, I'm sure. And that, like, I'm all for that because he like wants to go for like 2 weeks and try and get on shows, but he also wants to go to like Disney and Universal and stuff. This year, I have a very outrageous goal in wrestling, and like, yes, Japan is one of them, but like mine's, I want to wrestle in either North or South Dakota because people forget that's a state. See? So outrageous, but
it's true. There isn't a lot of like, I haven't gone for a lot of wrestling out there, and it's true. I've thought about that too.
I found out South Dakota literally has one wrestling company in the entire state. I was like, I'm gonna find a way to get on this show. Like, this is my goal in life. Like, oh, but South Dakota, man, you're like, there's no reason. There is a reasoning, and it's from childhood, from a TV show. It was The Fairly Odd Parents, and there was this episode where it was an episode where Timmy Turner made a wish because he has, fairy godparents and stuff because he's cool. He made a wish that he was never wrong. So Mr. Crocker, his teacher, who was a psycho, was like, how many states are there? And he was like, 49. And then the teacher was like, no, you're wrong. And then on the loudspeaker, it was just like, oh, we have breaking news. North and South Dakota have decided to join and become one giant Dakota. And ever since then, I've had people in one of the Dakotas.
You just, you really just unlocked a memory for that for me too. I grew up with that show too. Yeah, I forgot about that. They merged together.
For breakfast this morning because I won't remember, but I can tell you about that episode.
I love that. I haven't had a Fairly Odd Parents reference yet either. And Melina, I mean, for someone so traveled like yourself, like veteran, obviously WWE, all these companies, do you have favorite places that you went to?
I love traveling. I really do. Like, but it's more to be in the places and to see the people. And for my whole entire time in WWE, I traveled all around the world and never got to see it. And like, that was my biggest regret, is never, because I was in the gyms, in the arenas, like I was so obsessed and so work. So it's hotel, gym, arena, practice, do the show, straight to the next city, hotel, gym, arena, flight, hotel, gym, arena. obsessed. Like, I got to be good at my craft. This is it. We're here. And I loved it. Don't get me wrong. I do not regret it, even though I wish I got to see every place. So after WWE, whenever I was in a different country, state, anything, I stay there. I stay in these places. I seek out every place, like any place that's sightseeing. I make friends. Like, weirdly enough, I make friends, and most of the time it's like people don't even know I'm a wrestler. I just start making friends, and it's like, really? Oh, well, thanks for letting me know. And they're like, you know what, you could come with us. And then I start making new friends, and
So
they
cool.
start taking the local places and stuff. And every, like, Australia, I love, like, China was good. I went there for in between, like, during WWE for like promotional stuff, but I stayed there
Wow.
for like a week or so. And I love tasting food. I love seeing sights. I love looking at decor, buildings. Um, to me, I guess I always thought, like, what if I die one day, and what if I die young? And I don't want to not see everything, taste things, talk to people, make friends, and I just want to experience life, listen to the music. I love places where they have buskers and stuff. Like, I love Ireland. Like, obviously that's one of my favorite places. Love London. I love Germany. Oh my goodness, food in Germany too. And Australia, like, oh my goodness, like, I love these places so much. And I feel like these are all my homes. I'm happy to be home nowadays and spend time with family, but my family is all around the world, and I miss them. I miss them so much. And I feel like, even though this is my home here in California, my home's also in all these different countries, and my heart's there too. And I miss it. I don't know if I could stop traveling, because I need to be at these places. I miss it all.
Yeah.
I miss seeing everybody. I miss the energy, the people, the music, the food, the views, the sunsets, the sunrises, like, all of it. Every place is a different life, and I miss them all. So I don't think I can have one favorite place in the entire world. I do want to go back to Italy though. I haven't gone there since WWE. So I think that's on my bucket list, is to go back.
No,
But
absolutely. That's such a great
you know what?
answer too. Yeah.
Like, I want you to appreciate it. Take it all in, soak it all up. It's not, wrestling takes you everywhere, but remember that there's also, like, this little, when you talk about avenues, there's also, take the scenic route, go through the avenue that's not always just wrestling.
And
And
no, now
then
about it, I was like, I haven't gone anywhere like since I've like when you were like, oh, hotel, gym, arena. I was just like, oh my gosh, that's basically what I've been doing. Like, except
but
for like,
you have to do that when you're setting your mark in wrestling.
yeah,
Like, that's the only way to be great, is to
yeah.
eat, sleep, and breathe this. And that's the path to greatness, to making a mark in this industry. But if you can take a minute to look around, do it, and don't feel guilty about it. You look around. You deserve that every so often.
Yeah.
That's my
When,
advice in those moments.
where am I this weekend? Oh God, I don't know if I have time. So, all right, let's do this. At what time? 5 o'clock. All right, so I'll leave in a couple hours to drive to Kentucky. I'll do my show, and then I will drive from Kentucky to Texas. I gotta go to Dallas, and then I'll stay in Dallas for like, I don't know, maybe like 8 hours. And then I'll drive from to Birmingham, Alabama, and then I'll do my show in Alabama on Saturday, and then I'll come home, and then I'll get
But
home Sunday.
guys, man, do you like? I also love the drives, because when you're driving, like, there are times where it's like, it feels like different countries when you're driving into different states, and then, like, you're driving, and then the sun's setting, and it's like, God, this is some Forrest Gump, like, movie shit right here. The way the world looks, and everybody gets to see these
Yeah,
views.
they're my favorite thing in the world. Like I make sure to take pictures of them and I'll send them to like my stepmom and stuff because she loves those things. And I'm just like, oh, and I'll send her the location. Like even if it's like this random little like, oh, Athens, Georgia, like random little cities and stuff. And I'm just like, this is where these are. Because like it's never gonna be the same again. Like that picture is literally a one in a billion. Like it's this no
Yeah.
one else that exact picture. And that's her favorite thing. It's just like sunsets and stuff. So I make sure like like, I don't know, I love them too, but she like, there's, I don't know, you have to like, you have to have a different or like a special type of like mindset to understand like how, like sunsets and sunrises. Like they mean so much. Like they're not.
Yeah.
It's not just, oh. It's literally like, this is the start of a new day. Like you can do whatever you want to do, and then at the end of the day, with the sunset, it's just like that. This day is over. If you didn't do, if you're not happy with it, you can just start again tomorrow, type of thing. And that's how I always think. Like I'll have a bad match, and then I'm like, all right, you know what? I get to wake up tomorrow and I get to do it again. And I can just try and be better than the next time and the next time and the next time. And then one day I'll either be where I want to be, but like, I'm already happy in my career. Cause like everyone, like, especially in wrestling, people are just like, oh, I want to be signed. I want to be famous. I want to be this. Like, for me, like, yeah, obviously that's a goal. But if I don't and I have to retire tonight, I'd be like, you know what? I did what I wanted to do. I got to travel. And like, my big thing is wrestling was a distraction for me, like in life, and that's all I want for people. I want to be, if it's 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or 3 minutes, I don't care. I want to be a distraction from someone's crappy life. Like I want the girl in the corner who's crying because her parents are fighting, or because her boyfriend broke up with her, or because she's being bullied in school or something. I want her to just be distracted for this couple minutes to kind of forget the world exists. And that's, I've had a bunch of people been like, hey, thank you for this. And like, I don't realize it like when I'm doing it, but like when people like, once I like, again, like I'll sit down at the end of the day and be like, you know what, I got to do these really cool things. And it's just like, if I don't get signed, like, I don't want to say I'm okay with it, but I'm okay with it because I got to live my dream of being a wrestler. And I have no
Yeah.
idea where I'm from, but yeah.
Well, some people, especially when you didn't have options back in the day, there weren't any options. There weren't anywhere else to go, be on TV.
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean? It, even indies, there wasn't even a lot. Like it was really super small, smaller than you could ever imagine. And really there wasn't a lot. But
Yeah.
now it's like you can have a fulfilling career, a whole entire career that some people like even that were on TV got better than what they got to have. So it like times now it's different and you like it's good to appreciate it. There's some people who they stop living because they never make it to where they thought they should have been. When in
Yeah.
reality, they've done so much more than anybody else has ever in this world. If you think about how many wrestlers are in this world and the rest of the world, very few even dare to step in a ring to just try to learn a bump or try to learn a wrist lock or something.
Yeah.
Like we dared to do what so many couldn't. And you gotta be proud of that. Whether you're a superstar or not or whatever, to appreciate what you've accomplished so far because not everybody has the guts to be able to do that. So I love your outlook. I love their perception of things. It makes my heart happy.
I also, yeah, I really love listen to both of you go back and forth. It's such like positivity. It's really, really cool. And Melina, specific question for you. I mean, you did so many firsts, like you were just talking about just taking the leap and like daring to dare. So many firsts in your career in WWE specifically. What you were in a first ever women's I Quit match with Beth Phoenix. You had a lot of run-ins with Beth, and she's doing a lot of great things today. I'd love to hear just how it was mixing up with Beth and what your thoughts are on all the work she's doing now.
Oh my goodness. I know there was something I wanted to say that was relating to what she was saying, but I'm forgetting right now. Oh, don't get old, people. Oh my goodness. But yeah, the thing is with when it comes to wrestling, like I too, like I wanted to be the person just like her. I guess that's what I was trying to say was I also wanted to be the person like to thank the people who came before me that entertained me and took me out of my days when I needed it, who took me into like this storytelling thing and just like let me just not care, have no cares in the world type of deal. I wanted to do that for somebody else the way they did that for me. But I also wanted to be a representation that I never got to see, growing up. The only person who I got to see that looked like me was Wonder Woman, except she had blue eyes. So I can't be pretty unless I had blue eyes back in those days. That's what I thought. So for me to be a Latina, to be out there, it meant everything to me because I represent somebody who you don't get to really see out there. And it's like, yeah, we have J-Lo, but J-Lo went blonde. But then the sad thing is like I had to do all this stuff, and it's like, okay, I gotta do this, I gotta wear the skirts, I gotta go blonde, I gotta do this. But once I make it, once I finally like become a wrestler, I could wear the pants now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, wear the skirts, this is what I'm supposed to do, this is what I'm supposed to do. And then once I finally make it, I could go back to the dark. I could go back to like to wearing pants. I could do this on my own, worth, like what my talent is, what I know I could do. And I'm really proud of the marks I made, even if it gets buried underneath the rug, even if everybody erases me. I set a chain in motion. And I'm glad because so many girls out there, I mean, I never thought I'd be able to see like ethnic women in WWE. No offense to blondes, I love everybody. You have no idea. Like, I love,
I just leave now.
like, I love every country. Everybody's like, oh no, you got to be all like Latined out and da 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 da. That doesn't mean I'm not proud of my heritage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Learned about every country, and I love every country. I look at my friends and I love all their features and their skin and their eyes and their hair. Everybody's an individual with the way they see things. I love everything. And I know people can't understand that because it's like, oh, well, your opinion doesn't mean anything because you love everything. But like, when I don't like something, you'll know it means something because but so you'll know, and then people get all upset because like, oh well, you love everything else, why couldn't you love that? Well, now I don't love
Like,
everything.
yeah.
But uh, you know all of these things meant a lot. It's so weird because for my time, even though something that I want to write about eventually, where everyone could tell me like, well, you could have learned and asked questions from here and there. It's awkward being a woman at the time where kind of like everything you do always has sexual innuendos. And the person that I was back then, I wanted to avoid that. It was why do people have to touch me when they do stuff? Why do you have to like relate everything to sex when you talk to me? And I couldn't understand that because I've never been around that back then. So I didn't ask a lot of questions to be taught. Like I didn't ask questions like, okay, can you teach me how to do this and this and that and the psychology and da, da, da. I had to watch overhear people teach each other. Some trainers did. They were really great at explaining everything to me. They made me feel comfortable. But watch a lot of videos. I learned on my own, and I kind of think like, God, if I could only have somebody who like really did take me under their wing, what I could have learned. And I wish I could have learned so much more because I loved wrestling so much. Oh, it was just, it was art. It was brilliant. And I wish I could have learned more. But at the same time, it is what it is. And I love working with every girl.
Mhm.
Everyone like, again, and it's not to say Beth doesn't deserve what she has, but there are other women who like say Jazz and Lisa. I'm always going to say that why don't they get the credit? It's all about opportunity. And what does WWE want to push? Do they want to push, their blondes, or do they want to push like people who like made a mark? Like, and it's not, I know people are going to be upset with that, but really, if you dissect it all and you see the history of WWE, why there's so many other girls? Like, what about Mickie? Mickie was working there, and then they didn't keep her. They just put her in these like crap positions, and they tested her out with the announcing. They tested her out with this and this and that, and then they let her go. And it's like, okay, well, she's capable. We know she's capable. Why not keep her? So you have to question all these things. And that's the sad part of like what I learned when I like, it's 50-50. I love WWE. I will highly praise them for a lot of reasons. But it's another thing when you're a wrestling fan and you love everything, and then you take a look behind the curtain. And then that's not what you thought it was supposed to be. So they're not evil. There's like injustices, and it's heartbreaking as a person who had like such a naive and hopeful and dreamy mind that you wish these people who deserved better should have gotten better and they never did. Like China deserved better. There's a lot of heartbreak in it, but at the same time, that's all of life, right? Sorry.
No, no, definitely. I mean, it's a really insightful answer. Absolutely. And I'm curious then, because we most recently saw you back for the 2022 Royal Rumble, and I mean, I just rewatched it. Like
That was a miracle.
you could feel your emotion like through the TV series. Like it was all over your face, and it was just. Was it any? Did you like? What did that feel going back after talking about everything you just accomplished and how you feel? Like, what was that like?
Like a miracle, because I never, like, again, the injustices I see, like the people, and you have to think of like Lisa and Jazz. Without them, who would like Trish and Lita be? Like, you need your heels to enhance the baby face. And if it wasn't for strong, amazing characters like that, would they really be at risk? Would their like characters be the same? Would their matches be the same? You got to consider all these things. And I think that, like, if they never got, the appreciation, the flowers that they deserve, how am I going to? I'm not a Jazz. I'm not a Lisa, I'm just me. And that's the way I felt, or that's the way sometimes wrestling makes people feel, like you're replaceable and you're nobody, and they'll get another person and you'll be nobody without us. And that's the way I felt for a long, long time. And, going back, even though I'm happy as is. It's just like, I get in tune with all these memories, and then I feel the memories. So I remember them. But I look back and I think, God, there's no way they're ever gonna invite me back. Like, why would they? Who am I to them? And I'm a person who, I minded my own business and did what I was told. I didn't kiss ass. I just do what I needed to do. And I think they wanted to say something like, hey, please don't fire me, please don't let me go, like, say anything, do anything, like, oh, I'll do more, and like, I just thought maybe this is my time, so I just go with it. And so I think, like, they had like this thing where, I'm not explaining it right because I'm trying to keep it short, but I'm making it longer than it should be.
Mhm.
But I
Yeah.
really didn't think that they were ever going to call me back. Little Raw here, Little Raw there, kind of like nothing, little parts. And they were going to give me a moment for the Rumble, and that's what I always wanted. And they gave it to me, but then I was like, there you guys are. They gave me this moment. I was supposed to have this whole spiel with freaking Sasha and
Sasha.
everything. And that was going to be a moment where I thought, like, this is the way I could end my whole career. Like, this is everything. Like, God,
Right.
like, amazing things do happen for good people. This was gonna be that moment. And then they totally cut everything, and they
Wow.
just wanted me to get thrown out from the get-go. And I was like, oh, there it is. Well, I knew it was coming. I was like, you know what?
Ah. I
That's
hated
that.
that as a fan who grew up watching you, like really did. Like that was my whole childhood. Just see, I mean, I hated. It's always the nostalgia that they get you with, but right, like that, like the memories from your childhood, and you and Sasha mixing it up would have been amazing. I don't know why it didn't.
Amazing. What they said was that they're like, we got to keep. I was like, why would I? I listened to myself. I was like, sorry. I'm like, I'm like her, where she's, you have all these thoughts in your head, you know what you want to say, but all the words come out at once, and that's what happens. But when they explain these things to me, because I want to know the whys, have it make sense. Why do you want me to get thrown out from the get-go, so then I could do it to the best of my ability? And they said, because we want to make her look strong. And I told them, wouldn't it make her look strong if I gave my best and she outsmarted me? And that's how she threw me out. She beats a legend for that moment because I screwed up or I wasn't good enough. It makes her look stronger if we did that. And they're like, no, that's what Vince wants. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, we just fuck everybody over because everybody's waiting for this showdown. We milked this whole showdown. And instead of giving them a taste of what could be and have their imaginations run wild, of like thinking of a match that we could have, you just cheated everybody in this arena. You just
Yeah.
cheated them. And then it just became like this debacle of like, did she slip? Oh my gosh, she just botched that
Right.
move. I'm all, what? From, if you are a wrestler and if you think that I botched it and you're a wrestler, then I got a question. When it comes to like what happened was when Sasha picked me and plopped me onto the apron, I, instead of just jumping off or being thrown off, I put my feet on the apron because I was worried about my knee, and then fell forward. Like, I tried to make it look like I got thrown out, but I was being careful.
Right.
But I was like, where's the botch? Like, what do people think I botched? So if anything, I stayed in the ring longer than WWE wanted me to. That's what I wanted. So,
That's awesome.
but
That's
we
yeah.
came up with something so good. Like, it was so good. I was so excited. Like, I marked out.
Do you remember what it was?
Oh man, what I remember was it was typical, because for me, the way my facials are and the way it just like the matchup, it's like you could, the expressions I remember was, bitch, you think you could do my moves and then claim them for yourself? I'm the fucking OG and you are me. And it was kind of like this, where it was tit for tat. I'd go for the move, she goes for the same move, like tit for tat of our moves until we distract each other with each other's moves that we don't have. Like, it's not the same.
Yeah.
Until the final, like, it was a good tit for tat where it's hard hitting, but then at the same time acrobatic. But it was more about the storytelling of these moments where we're hitting each other's moves and we look each other in the face like, fuck you. And then like going for the outside, something where I almost eat it to the outside. And then I'm about to get in because I get her one good and then she gets me out. Something to that effect. But it
Sounds
was
amazing.
so,
Yeah.
like, I felt it, like the adrenaline of when you're going through it.
Because it sounds really cool, and there are specific moves too, like that you mentioned, that like tit for tat, like the knees in the corner. I remember seeing you do that, back when I was younger. Now she did like very like literally the same stuff. So it's, wow, would have been very cool to see. It's a shame. I mean, is there any chance of seeing it in the future? I'm sure you've been asked before, with everything she's doing now in Japan.
Well, I don't. That's the hard part about like saying me being my mind frame and age. I'm sure I could do this in 10 years, but would I really want to? Like, that's the whole thing. So would it be it would depend on the right place at the right time. It's available and I'm available.
Yeah.
How would it be? Is I would love to make it an event. And what kind of story are we going to tell? Because I want to tell a good story. I don't want to do this thing where it's like, okay, let's just pass the torch and I just live up, like, I don't do anything. Like, I want a person to care when I work with them. Like, do you want to like tell a beautiful story where it's like, this is like something what people are going to remember and feel something like in their heart. Like, I always go for the Rocky thing. Rocky is life on Rocky. You have no idea. Like, my life and everything is based on Rocky. And then more so when it comes,
Cool.
and you got to tell that story that pulls on the heartstrings, that makes you think, like, feel like, oh my God, that person's gonna break. You feel the pain, you feel the hurt or the suffering or the embarrassment or the anger or the disapproval. You have to feel these feelings and then tell that story so that everybody's talking about it when they walk away. So that's the kind of, I will pray that if I ever get to work with her, I want to be able to tell that kind of story.
Yeah. I mean, it would be a dream match. And I love that. The Rocky analogy. Very cool.
She's athletically amazing. She's athletically amazing. So I have no doubt that she's capable of doing all that stuff. It's just, can we dance together?
Ellie,
even though when we walked through it was great. I felt the energy.
Yeah, oh, totally. I mean, in the few seconds too, I felt that energy too. It was very much there. Just watching, and I was gonna say, Ellie, are there any people that you'd like to get in there and mix up with, like dream matches, so to speak, whether it be on a bigger stage, like, or the bigger leagues, or on the indies right now that you have your eyes on? Who do you think you'd mesh well with?
I am currently on the phone with her.
Oh,
Oh.
really?
I love you, Ellie.
I don't know. And I know you were just like, you're like, oh, can you still do it and stuff? But if you ever want to, no, no,
Love to.
that-
We'll tell.
So cool.
that was definitely one, like, always, you know what I mean, like growing up and stuff. Oh gosh, I don't know. Like right there. I guess I didn't like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, she's obviously a goal, but like I can't just be like, oh yeah, there's this one random indie worker when like Melina.
Fair. No.
So yeah.
That's awesome.
If you want to come down to OVW, no, I'm there every Thursday. Just saying. I don't know. Yeah, that's my one right there.
She's
Very
being
cool.
nice. Stop it.
She's being.
No one's ever. I mean, I appreciate it. I want to hug her.
That's really cool to hear too.
I will get jelly. A little bit.
That's it.
Well, Melina, one specific question for you. This is just from my childhood as a fan here. Someone you were rising with in your respective divisions, I feel, and also ran into a lot with MNM was Jeff Hardy. Do you have any stories of Jeff, or just what it was like being there? Because you're both really, that ascent was at the same time period, at like 2008, 2009. Do you have any stories, any memories?
Memories again, like it's always difficult in a sense because it was like work, so focused,
Yeah.
and maybe Ellie can relate to it, maybe because I'm trying to understand. Like I was socially awkward. I had yeah, I was really awkward. Like I can only imagine like that's why people thought I was such a bitch, because I didn't know how to talk. I'm a great listener. I just like to listen to people. I was super shy, even though it didn't seem like it. But yeah, I just kind of would get anxiety and I just do my thing,
Yeah.
go to the stands and sit there and think about matches, think about things. I didn't, people were kind of weird with me, so I just avoided it and just stayed in the stands. But working with because of Joey, because Joey grew up, in the same school working with the Hardys. So we were always around them because of Joey. And it was always amazing for me because I marked out because I watched them on TV. So that whole entire, MNM run, even all of it, I would mark out silently in my heart because these were people I looked up to and I was like, wow. And some people disappoint you and others were just incredible, where it's like, wow, thank you for teaching me this. Thank you for working with us. Thank you. And when it came to the Hardys, it was weird because I would look at them and think this could be John and Joey, because Joey had the mind of putting things together like Matt did. Because that's the way I saw Matt. I saw Matt as like Joey because he seemed like the ring general.
Yeah.
And like John was like Jeff, where Jeff was, the high flyer. He was the daredevil, but he also reminded me of Jim Morrison. You know how
Jeff did?
Jim Morrison, yeah, Jim
Yeah.
Morrison for the door kind of like had that it factor. You can't put your like anything on it. You can't recreate it. You can't bottle that up and sell it type of deal.
Right.
He, would had poems. The things he said, like he just had this presence and that it factor and this personality that you just kind of like, man, you're amazing. You're like just the essence of you. And them together, and then to know that they're brothers,
Right.
it was beautiful. That was a beautiful time. And I appreciated those moments together because it was like having matches with them, like the boys having matches with them, and then letting me be like contributor to a bit of that. It was awesome. It was great. Freaking amazing to see. And then to watch it, like have a front row seat and watch it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Be right there. That's so cool to hear about from you, really. And we'll start to wind it down here. Thank you both for being here. Ellie, one specific question for you, something that just came up today, so very topical, is that Bad Bunny is going to host Backlash in Puerto Rico, which is really, really cool to hear. But you actually had something. Speaking of that distraction, you were part of one of those distraction type of things for the world when COVID was coming to an end, or in the middle of it when they had that WrestleMania. Was it 36? I think in Tampa.
I can't do numbers very well.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it was like
It was
right
cool.
around there though. And you participated in Bad Bunny's entrance. Can you talk about that? It must have been such a cool experience.
Yeah, so it was like whatever the Mania was 2 years ago. That was it. That was yeah, I got to be one of the bunnies. I can't even watch it back and tell you which one I was because it was like 30 bunnies. I do remember, without going into a lot of detail, that my bunny was a little lopsided. Like when I would, so I might be able to, like, if I like studied it, like literally every single one, I might be able to figure out which one it is. But I do remember that since I was like lopsided and stuff, like there was there was a lot going on. That I made sure to like stay in the middle so no one could point me out. But yeah, I got to be one of his bunnies, and the scary part was it had just rained the whole day,
Right,
so the
the
ground
rain
was,
delay. Yeah.
so it was we were playing a game of, hey, who's gonna fall and bust their ass, and thankfully nobody did, but there was a lot going on the whole time.
Amazing. Really, really cool experience, definitely. And that was like 2 years ago, so even earlier in your career. I'm not sure if you'd done a lot before that, but I'm sure it was like exciting. Well, I'll hand it to you though, Ellie. You talked about your goal of the Dakotas, right? That's a specific one. Are there any other short-term or long-term goals we should keep our eyes out for you?
I know we just talked about like WrestleMania, WWE. But if you want to check out the other company, the other side, I have been there a lot the last couple months and stuff. I've been had a lot of matches. So without like going into too much detail, keep an eye out for that.
Definitely.
But yeah, but also like, check NXT and stuff every once in a while, because who knows what's gonna happen.
That's awesome.
So basically to follow you wherever you go.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
So happy for you. That's such exciting stuff, really. Congratulations on all of it, all of the success. And Melina, to you, before I ask you last question, how would you talked about what you've done so far. How would you want your legacy to be remembered when you eventually do hang up your boots?
Oh my goodness. Like that's
Lord,
I already
yeah.
feel like I'm all ready for it to be forgotten, for the fact that, you watch things pass by. I remember when I came out of high school and I was working out and I was like all into like, okay, I'm gonna be a wrestler. I put on like the tracks. Remember there was like CDs. Well, you guys are young. What am I talking about? You don't even remember that. You weren't even alive then, but they would be CDs. And it was all like everybody's theme music. And Taz,
Okay.
and it was Rockstar. And it would say um how people like will put you up on a pedestal. I'm trying to remember the lyrics. I don't remember the lyrics right now, but basically it was saying how like people put you on the pedestal and they love you. And then once they have the opportunity, they will tear you down. And then there's another part where it's like in the next year, like next thing I know, somebody's trying to be me and they're a spin-off of what you were. And I listened to these lyrics and I read it and I didn't understand it during the time because I was like working out. I'm going to be a WWE superstar one day. And then as I went through it all, you realize, holy crap, now I get what those lyrics meant. And I'm going through it. And so you could easily be erased because somebody is a spinoff of what you are. And once they kind of like take a little from you and little from you and little from you, you're not even a memory because they remember all these people and you're nothing anymore because basically why remember you if we have people like you already here? So it's kind of like that. You get that feeling of like, will I ever be remembered? Will it even matter? But so I've given like I've had my piece of like people letting go of my memory. But if they ever were to look me up, to look at the past, and you know, I appreciate that I inspired a lot of people because people didn't care about their entrances when before me.
Mhm.
Stacey Keebler did her thing. Like people would dress up, but entrances didn't matter until I came onto the scene. Like I know the legacy I've left behind of like flexibility in wrestling, when it comes to entrances, when it comes to ethnicity, when it comes to certain like type of essence or energy or character. I know, but the legacy I would truly want to leave behind is that to not let wrestling be like give it your all, but know that you're more than that. There's a whole entire world out there. Love your friends, love your family. Be a heel, but you don't have to be an asshole. You know what I mean? Outside the ring, like know where the separation is. You don't have to get lost. You don't have to sacrifice yourself. You don't have to give up your life and your family and everything because they tell you that, well, you either do this or you lose or you won't be anything. You could know who you are and take pride of who you are. Like there's so many things, but as a human being outside of wrestling, I just want to be an entity of love and forgiveness because I've been, people have hated me, people have judged me, people have assumed things. I know I'm not good at speaking. I'm still,
I disagree. I gotta
oh,
disagree.
but I
Yeah.
could sing. And then it's like, if it's a little bit off, people can twist it into different things. And if I would have said it right the first time, maybe then they couldn't twist it up. So I'm still
Right.
working, but I want people to know that all I care about is I never wanted to hurt anybody. I never, all I wanted to do was be a character and take people out of their lives and make them smile, make them hate me because it's a part of the story. But ultimately, like, I don't care about fame. I didn't care about money. I just wanted to love people and that's it. And I hope that my memory is that just nothing but love. And it sounds cliche, it sounds stupid or hokey, but it's a reality. That's who I am. So,
I mean,
mm.
it's really, it is beautiful. That is, I mean, so, and final question. I mean, you said a lot of insightful stuff in that. Do you have any advice, lasting words? You've given so much, but for Ellie as she continues on in her career.
I need it all.
Follow your heart and like it's this balance of doing what your heart tells you, but then not being too crazy, like where you have regrets. So it's like, okay, you got to make these choices. You don't want to have any regrets, but you don't want to do something too crazy. Listen to everybody with a grain of salt. Everybody's trying to teach you something. Everything's a learning lesson. And if you think like, oh, I shouldn't have said anything, you know what? I say a lot of stupid stuff. I make a lot of mistakes, but I embrace it all because you know what? It taught me something. I learned something from it. And I get a little bit less awkward. I feel a little less stupid. Like, oh my goodness, I walked through an airport with my skirt or my dress tucked into my underwear, walked all over the place, went on a flight, got off it, stayed around like in baggage claim. Nobody told me anything until this one woman told me something. Embarrassing moments, had so many of them that I don't even get as embarrassed anymore. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. But they make for great stories though. So follow your heart, be happy, do what makes your soul like, fulfills you. And if somebody tells you you can't make it, do you think you can't make it? I mean, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. But don't let anybody tell you you can't. The thing about internet nowadays is everybody wants to shred everybody apart. Everybody wants to cancel everybody out. And if anything, if somebody tries to cancel me, and this is something I learned, people have tried to cancel me over and over and over again. And that they didn't know me. I don't blame them. I'm like, you know what? That's the way the world works sometimes. That's the luck. But your good heart, your good soul, you know what you want, you know who you are. Keep being you and don't let anything hurt you. just keep on picking yourself up and move forward. Sometimes it's gonna be hard. Sometimes you're like, oh God, give me a win, universe. Why? Like, why does things happen to good people type of thing? And it happens to all people, not just good people, it happens to all people. Pick yourself up and keep going because you deserve for you. And that's the advice I want to give you because you're a good person, you're a good soul, and I look forward to seeing your matches in the future. So I'm excited. Don't change that part of yours. Don't. I mean, the wrestling, it'll make people jaded. But don't let it do that to you. Just let it make you smarter, but don't let it harden your heart.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was awesome. Yeah, thank you both. Thank you both. I mean, that was so much fun, really. That brings us to the end. Awesome stuff. Seriously, thank you.
Of course, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Definitely.
Rewind, recap, relive. For over 50 episodes, the revolutionary force in wrestling interview.